Chosen soul, you who are watching this moment, pause for a moment and listen closely. Trust God with your love story, the relationship that secures every other. There is a quiet question many hearts carry but rarely speak aloud. What if the love you have been hoping for is not delayed, but carefully being written in a way your present mind cannot yet see? Dear listener, consider this gently for a moment. Some stories are not rushed because they are being built with deeper foundations. Some relationships do not appear quickly because something greater is quietly shaping the hearts that will one day meet. And perhaps, just perhaps, the reason you found this message today is because somewhere within your soul there has been a silent wondering about your own love story. Quiet heart, have you ever looked back at your life and realized that certain chapters only made sense much later? Moments that once felt confusing eventually revealed their purpose. Sometimes people walked into your life and left just as suddenly. Sometimes you believed something was meant to last forever, only to watch it slowly fade away. In those moments it is easy to wonder whether love itself is uncertain, fragile, or unpredictable. But pause here for a moment and breathe slowly. What if the real story of your love has never been about chasing the right person, but about building the right relationship with God first? Because when that relationship becomes steady, something extraordinary begins to happen. The heart becomes calm. The mind becomes clearer. The soul becomes strong enough to recognize a love that is genuine rather than temporary. You who are listening right now, if this message already feels strangely personal, if something inside you feels seen or understood, you are welcome to share that feeling in the comments by writing, "I believe this message found me for a reason." It is simply a small way of acknowledging the moment. If you appreciate thoughtful spiritual encouragement like this, you may also like the video so more people searching for peace may discover it as well. And if you would like to continue receiving messages that gently remind the heart of hope, faith, and purpose, you can subscribe and turn on the notification bell so these reflections reach you when they are shared. Some viewers also choose to support the channel with super thanks if a message deeply resonates with them. That gesture is always completely voluntary, never required, and never connected to receiving blessings or spiritual outcomes. The message itself is meant to stand freely for every listener. Now, dear listener, return your focus here, because the next reflection may reveal something important about the love story unfolding quietly in your life. Many people believe love begins the moment two individuals meet, but that is rarely the true beginning. The real beginning often happens years earlier, in seasons that seemed completely unrelated to romance. Perhaps there was a period of loneliness where you learned how to be comfortable with your own thoughts. Perhaps there was disappointment that taught you the difference between affection and commitment. Perhaps there were moments when you had to rebuild your confidence after someone misunderstood your heart. At the time those chapters may have felt painful or confusing, but they were quietly shaping something powerful within you. Because meaningful love requires more than attraction. It requires emotional maturity. It requires patience. It requires the ability to recognize sincerity when it appears. And these qualities are rarely developed overnight. Sometimes they are formed through experiences that stretch the soul in ways we never expected. Quiet heart, think about your own journey for a moment. There may have been times when you questioned whether you were moving forward or simply wandering through life without direction. Yet each experience added something to your understanding. Each moment of reflection slowly clarified what truly matters to you. The way you listen to people changed. The way you protect your peace evolved. The way you define love became deeper and more thoughtful. These changes are not accidents. They are signs that your story has been moving forward even during seasons when it felt still. Stay with this message for a little longer, because the next idea may bring unexpected comfort. Many people worry that waiting for the right relationship means they are somehow falling behind in life. They watch others enter relationships quickly and wonder whether something is wrong with their own timing. But life does not unfold according to identical schedules. Every soul has its own path of preparation. Some hearts must learn patience before they can truly appreciate companionship. Some individuals must discover their own strength before they are ready to share life with someone else. And sometimes two people who are meant to meet are both walking through separate seasons of growth, unaware that their journeys are slowly guiding them toward the same future moment. You who are listening, this idea may sound simple, but its meaning runs deep. Nothing in your story has been wasted. Every conversation that shaped your perspective, every challenge that strengthened your character, every quiet night where you reflected about who you are becoming, all of these moments have been preparing the foundation of your life. And when the foundation becomes steady, relationships begin to look different. Instead of seeking validation, the heart begins to seek connection. Instead of chasing attention, the soul begins to value peace. Instead of fearing loneliness, the mind begins to understand that solitude can be a place where wisdom grows. Dear listener, remain here with this message, because something important is about to unfold in this reflection. The relationship that secures every other relationship in your life is not romantic at first. It begins with something deeper. It begins with your relationship with God. When that connection becomes real and steady, it transforms the way you see everything else. It teaches you patience when life feels uncertain. It reminds you that your worth is not defined by who chooses you or who leaves. It quietly assures your heart that love built on honesty, respect, and faith will always arrive at the right moment rather than the rushed one. And sometimes, the most powerful love stories begin after a person learns how to trust that truth completely. Quiet heart, stay with this reflection for a moment longer, because something gentle yet powerful begins to unfold when a person truly learns to trust God with their love story. Many people spend years trying to control the outcome of relationships. They try to predict who will stay, who will change, and who will finally become the partner they have been hoping for. But the more tightly someone tries to control love, the more fragile it often becomes. Love that is forced tends to lose its peace, and relationships built on pressure rarely grow into the kind of connection that nourishes the soul. Dear listener, consider this quietly. The moment a person begins to trust God with their love story, something within them begins to relax. The heart stops chasing what is uncertain. The mind stops replaying questions that have no answers. Instead, a different kind of strength begins to form, the quiet confidence that the right connection will not need to be forced. You who are watching this moment may already recognize this shift within yourself. Perhaps there was once a time when you believed love meant holding on no matter what, even if it hurt your peace. Perhaps you once believed that patience meant tolerating confusion or inconsistency from someone who did not truly value your heart. But seasons of growth have a way of reshaping those beliefs. Life slowly teaches the difference between fighting for love and forcing love. True love does not require you to abandon your dignity or silence your intuition. True love arrives with clarity rather than constant uncertainty. And sometimes the reason you have been guided through seasons of waiting is because your heart needed time to recognize that difference. Pause here for a moment and listen closely, because the next reflection may help you see your past in a completely new way. Many people carry quiet regrets about relationships that did not last. They replay memories and wonder what they could have done differently. They question whether they missed an opportunity or walked away too soon. Yet what if those chapters were never meant to become permanent parts of your story? Some chapters of life exist to prepare the heart rather than to complete it. They reveal the kind of connection that does not satisfy the soul, so that one day you will recognize the connection that truly does. Sometimes a relationship ends not because love was impossible, but because both individuals still had lessons to learn separately. And those lessons cannot always be learned while holding on to each other. You who are listening right now may have experienced this kind of ending. A relationship that once felt full of promise eventually reached a point where something deeper was missing. Communication became strained. Effort became uneven. The peace you once felt slowly disappeared. In those moments it is natural to ask why something that began with hope did not continue the way you imagined. But trust this gently, dear listener. Sometimes the closing of one chapter is the quiet protection of another chapter that has not yet begun. Stay with this message, because what comes next may reveal something meaningful about the season you are living in right now. Waiting seasons are often misunderstood. From the outside they can look like emptiness or delay, but from within they are often seasons of transformation. During these times the heart learns how to stand firmly on its own values. The mind becomes more aware of emotional patterns that once went unnoticed. The soul becomes less interested in temporary attention and more drawn toward genuine connection. These shifts are subtle, yet they are incredibly important. Because meaningful love is not simply about finding someone who appears at the right moment. It is about becoming the version of yourself who can recognize, receive, and nurture that love when it arrives. Quiet heart, think about how much you have grown through experiences that once felt difficult. Perhaps you have learned to speak your truth more clearly than you did before. Perhaps you have become more protective of your emotional energy. Perhaps you have discovered strengths within yourself that only appeared after moments of heartbreak or disappointment. These changes are not signs of hardship alone. They are signs of preparation. They are evidence that your story has been shaping you into someone who understands love more deeply than you once did. And that understanding will one day become one of your greatest gifts within a relationship. Pause for a moment and breathe slowly, because the next thought carries quiet reassurance. When two people who have both spent time growing separately finally meet, something extraordinary often happens. Their connection feels calm rather than chaotic. Conversations feel natural rather than forced. Trust begins to form without constant explanation. It is not because their lives have been perfect, but because both hearts have learned important lessons along the way. They have learned patience. They have learned humility. They have learned how to value honesty and respect more than temporary excitement. This is the kind of foundation that creates a relationship capable of lasting through the many seasons life will eventually bring. Dear listener, if you are currently in a season where your love story feels unwritten, do not rush past this chapter. There is wisdom being formed within you right now that will shape the way you experience love in the future. The ability to wait with faith rather than fear is not weakness. It is a quiet strength that very few people fully develop. Because trusting God with your love story means believing that what is meant for your life will arrive with the right timing, not simply the fastest timing. And that belief changes the way you move through each day. Instead of constantly searching for someone to complete your life, you begin focusing on building a life that already feels meaningful. Instead of measuring your worth by your relationship status, you begin measuring it by the peace you carry within your spirit. And when peace becomes the center of your life, something beautiful begins to happen. The relationships that enter your world start reflecting that peace as well. Stay with this message a little longer, quiet heart, because the next reflection may reveal something powerful about the love that could be waiting in your future. Many people imagine that when the right person appears, life will suddenly become perfect. But meaningful love is not about perfection. It is about alignment. It is about two individuals whose lives have been shaped in ways that allow them to walk beside each other with understanding and grace. And often, that alignment can only happen after both people have spent time learning who they truly are. So if your story has included seasons of waiting, reflection, and personal growth, do not see those chapters as empty pages. They are the very pages that may one day allow your love story to unfold with depth, sincerity, and lasting peace. Dear listener, remain with this reflection a little longer, because something deeply comforting begins to appear when we look at our love story through the lens of faith instead of fear. Many people quietly wonder whether the right relationship will ever arrive in their life. They watch years pass, they see other couples forming families and building futures together, and sometimes an unspoken question rises inside the heart. What if love simply passed me by? Quiet heart, if you have ever felt that thought drifting through your mind, pause for a moment and breathe slowly. That feeling does not mean your story is unfinished or forgotten. It simply means your soul is longing for something meaningful, something real, something that will not disappear when life becomes complicated. And meaningful love rarely appears in rushed chapters. It grows in stories that take time to unfold. You who are watching this moment may not realize how much preparation has already taken place within your life. The experiences that once felt like delays were quietly strengthening your emotional foundation. The conversations that challenged your beliefs were helping you refine what truly matters to you. Even the moments of disappointment were teaching your heart how to recognize sincerity more clearly in the future. Nothing in your story has been wasted. Every step has been shaping the person you are becoming. Stay with this message, because the next reflection may help you understand something powerful about how real love enters a life. There is a quiet pattern many people discover when they look back at their journey years later. The relationship that eventually became meaningful did not appear when they were desperately searching for it. Instead, it often arrived when they had reached a point of peace within themselves. When they had stopped chasing validation and started valuing their own purpose. When they had learned how to build a fulfilling life that did not depend entirely on another person's presence. That is the moment when love often appears, not as a rescue from loneliness, but as a beautiful addition to a life that is already growing. Quiet heart, think about the person you are today compared to who you were a few years ago. The way you see relationships may have changed dramatically. You may no longer feel drawn toward the same patterns that once felt exciting. You may now recognize the importance of emotional safety, honest communication, and shared values. These insights did not appear by accident. They were formed through lived experiences, through reflection, and through the quiet guidance that faith provides when you allow it to shape your understanding. Pause here for a moment and listen closely, because this idea carries gentle truth. When your relationship with God becomes the steady center of your life, your perspective on love changes completely. Instead of searching for someone who will fill every empty space within your heart, you begin looking for someone who respects the peace that already exists there. Instead of asking whether someone will choose you, you begin asking whether the connection reflects kindness, honesty, and emotional maturity. This shift may feel subtle, yet it transforms the way relationships grow. Because love that begins from a place of inner peace tends to be far more stable than love that begins from fear of being alone. Dear listener, you may have been guided to hear this message today because your heart is entering a new season of understanding. Perhaps you are beginning to notice that the things you once tolerated in relationships no longer feel acceptable. Perhaps you have become more aware of the energy people bring into your life. Some individuals leave you feeling calm and understood, while others leave you feeling drained or uncertain. This awareness is not accidental. It is a sign that your emotional wisdom is growing stronger. And that wisdom will one day help you recognize a connection that feels naturally aligned with your values and your faith. Stay with this message for a little longer, because the next thought may bring unexpected hope to your heart. Somewhere in the world, there may be another person walking through their own season of preparation at this very moment. They may also be learning lessons about patience, trust, and emotional honesty. They may also be reflecting on past experiences and discovering what kind of love truly matters. Neither of you may know about the other yet. Your lives may currently be unfolding in completely different places, surrounded by different people and responsibilities. Yet both journeys could be quietly moving toward a moment when your paths finally cross. This is one of the most beautiful mysteries of life. Sometimes two individuals are being shaped separately so that when they eventually meet, they are capable of appreciating each other in ways they could not have understood earlier in their lives. Quiet heart, imagine how different your relationships might have been if they had happened before you learned certain lessons. Before you understood the value of emotional boundaries. Before you discovered how important honesty and consistency truly are. You may now realize that some relationships which felt important in the past would not fit into the life you are building today. And that realization is not a loss. It is evidence of growth. Growth often changes the direction of our story so that we move toward connections that reflect who we have become rather than who we used to be. Pause again and breathe slowly, dear listener. The next reflection carries a powerful insight about love and timing. Meaningful love does not always arrive when we first feel ready for it. Sometimes it arrives when life has prepared us in ways we could not see earlier. When our priorities have become clearer. When our faith has deepened. When our sense of identity has grown strong enough that we no longer depend on another person to define our worth. At that point, love becomes something different from what we once imagined. It becomes partnership rather than dependence. It becomes support rather than escape. It becomes two individuals walking beside each other while still honoring the purpose within their own lives. And this kind of love has the strength to endure seasons of change, challenge, and growth without losing its foundation. You who are listening right now may be closer to this kind of connection than you realize. Not because a specific person has already appeared, but because your heart has been learning the qualities that make such a relationship possible. Patience. Compassion. Honesty. Faith. These qualities are the quiet architecture of lasting love. And the more they grow within you, the more naturally you will recognize them when they appear in someone else. Stay here with this message, quiet heart, because the final reflection will reveal something deeply reassuring about the love story that is still unfolding in your life. Quiet heart, stay with this final reflection, because sometimes the most important realization about love arrives not through dramatic moments, but through a quiet understanding that slowly settles within the soul. Trusting God with your love story does not mean sitting passively and waiting for life to happen. It means walking forward with faith, knowing that every step of growth, every season of patience, and every lesson learned is shaping the kind of relationship that will one day feel natural, peaceful, and deeply meaningful. Dear listener, many people spend years believing their love story has been delayed or misplaced, but often, the truth is something far more hopeful. Your story has been unfolding exactly through the experiences that were needed to shape your heart into the person you are becoming. The conversations that once challenged you, the friendships that supported you, even the relationships that ended sooner than expected, all played a quiet role in preparing your understanding of love. Nothing in your journey has been meaningless. Each chapter carried a purpose that may only become clear when you look back one day and see how everything connected. You who are watching this moment may not yet see how your story will unfold, but trust this gentle truth. Life often prepares two people separately long before they realize they are part of the same future. Somewhere, another person may also be learning patience, also discovering what truly matters in a relationship, also growing into the version of themselves capable of offering real love instead of temporary affection. Neither of you may know how your paths will eventually meet, yet the preparation continues quietly in both lives. Pause for a moment and listen closely, because the next thought may shift the way you see your waiting season. The time you spend building your relationship with God is never empty time. It is the season where your identity becomes grounded in something deeper than approval or attention. It is where your heart learns to rest in peace rather than chasing validation. And when a person reaches that place of inner steadiness, relationships begin to feel different. Instead of seeking someone to rescue them from loneliness, they begin recognizing connections that complement the life they are already building. This is the relationship that secures every other relationship, the quiet trust between you and God that reminds you your story is being guided even when you cannot see the next page. Quiet heart, think about how many people rush into relationships because they fear being alone. They move quickly, hoping companionship will silence the doubts within them. Yet when a relationship begins from fear rather than faith, it often struggles to find stability. Trusting God with your love story transforms that approach completely. Instead of rushing toward the first opportunity that appears, you learn to wait for the connection that brings peace rather than confusion. You learn to recognize the difference between attention and genuine care. You begin to understand that the right relationship will not require you to shrink your values or question your worth. Dear listener, imagine the kind of love that grows when two people meet after both have developed this understanding. Their conversations are honest because neither is pretending to be someone else. Their patience with each other is deeper because both have learned how growth takes time. Their respect for one another's dreams is sincere because they understand the importance of purpose. This kind of love does not feel rushed or uncertain. It feels steady, like two paths that naturally align after years of separate journeys. Stay with this reflection a little longer, because something beautiful appears when we view love through this perspective. The waiting season that once felt heavy begins to look like a time of quiet preparation. The experiences that once felt like detours begin to reveal themselves as lessons that strengthened your character. And the loneliness that sometimes visited your heart begins to transform into moments of reflection where your faith quietly deepened. These chapters did not exist to leave you empty. They existed to make space within your life for a connection that will one day feel sincere, respectful, and lasting. Quiet heart, there may come a day when you meet someone whose presence feels different from anything you have experienced before. Not because it is overwhelming or dramatic, but because it is peaceful. Conversations will feel natural rather than forced. Understanding will grow without constant explanation. Both of you will recognize something familiar in each other's values, as if your lives have been quietly guiding you toward this meeting long before it happened. And when that moment arrives, you may suddenly realize that the waiting seasons were not delays at all. They were the chapters that made this connection possible. Dear listener, your love story is not behind schedule. It is still unfolding in ways you may not yet fully understand. Every day you continue to grow in patience, compassion, and faith is another step toward the kind of relationship that reflects those same qualities. The love you are hoping for does not need to be chased or forced into existence. It will appear when the timing aligns with the life you are building and the person you are becoming. You who are watching this moment may not know when that chapter will begin, but you can trust that your story is still being written with care. So carry this thought with you as you move forward through your days. Continue strengthening your relationship with God, because that connection will guide your heart with wisdom and peace. Continue building a life that reflects your values and your purpose. Continue becoming the person who understands the difference between temporary excitement and meaningful love. And remember this quiet truth, chosen soul. Sometimes love arrives only after the soul has grown strong enough to recognize it, receive it, and cherish it with the patience it deserves. Your story is still unfolding, and the next chapter may hold more beauty than you can currently imagine. Type Amen.